Hey team, how's it going? Today I'm going to share with you my top tips for surf photography that I use when I work with my surf clients and to get photos published in magazines. So hopefully you can get the best surf photos possible with the equipment that you have. These tips are perfect for whether you're shooting on land or in the sea. So keep watching and I'll tell you my top tips for surf photography. So first up, we're going to talk about ISO. ISO, that is the amount of light that your camera processes from the available light. So keep it as low as possible and you'll get the best quality photos from your camera. The range that I tend to use is from 200 to 1600, but I really will try and keep below 800 if I possibly can. And you'll see why in the next steps when I talk about shutter speed and aperture. Aperture controls the amount of light that your camera sees through the lens by restricting with a hole in the lens the amount of light that comes through. You may already know that, but that's just a little basic breakdown. So what does it do to your surf photography photos? If you're shooting from the land, then the aperture, I find, really controls more the amount of light that I'm letting into my lens rather than the style of the photo. Because yes, it does affect the background blur and things like that, but really over that kind of distance when you're shooting surfers and on the kind of lenses you're using, you're not going to be shooting at f2.8, you're going to be shooting at 4.5, 5.6, something like that and above. And you're already, everything in your photo will be sharp already, is what I tend to find. I mean, yes, you might notice that the sea is a little bit sharper behind the surfer if you've stepped up to f8 or something like that, but it's not that big a difference. What settings of aperture do I typically use? If I'm on land, I really just go with the setting that I feel most comfortable with. So I'll keep it as low as I can to get maximum light on the sensor. And it's less of a stylistic choice and more of a choice to get the maximum light in the lens so I can keep my shutter speed up really nice and high. I will caveat that with the fact that if I'm shooting at sunset and I want to get some blurry photos, then I may step the aperture up to f8, even up like to f16, and I find that that can have some really magic results. If you're in the water, this is where it makes a big difference because you'll be shooting on lenses with wider apertures, you'll be shooting closer to your subject, the surfers, and you can really get some cool results. Whether you're shooting in the water surfers or whether you're trying to get detailed pictures of water, it can make a really big difference. So for general surf photos, if I'm just out there shooting, I'll keep it around f4 because that gives me a little bit of leeway to capture the surfer and also the detail of the surfer around them, the sprays, the water, and know that if my camera hasn't got pinpoint sharp focus on the main bit of the surfer, it's still going to be a really nice sharp image. I do sometimes step down to f2.8, something like that, if I want it to be quite stylized so that everything around the surf is a bit more blurred out, or if I'm doing more detailed, delicate photos of just water or just waves and I want to have that bokeh in the background and it looks really sick. But as I said, in general, as a really good starting point, f4 is a great place to be. You will find that some people shoot wave photos and surf photos with a lot higher apertures than that, going up to, f8, f11, something like that. And that is when you want to have the entire wave really crispy, or the wave and the surf are really crispy. And it can look amazing. It's not the style I tend to go for, but it's something worth experimenting with. The thing with shooting in water is that you can't, on the camera that I use certainly, and I know some cameras you can, but change the aperture in water. So if you're going to set it and you're not quite sure where to go, f4 is a really nice place to start. Okay, the final thing is shutter speed, and this is where you can really change your results and elevate your photos from being slightly blurry to pinpoint sharp and something worthy of going in a magazine. So let's start with the classic, really sharp surf photography, and for that you need a shutter speed of at least 1000. I've experimented a lot and I found that even if you're at 500, you will still get blurry edges of the surfer, and we don't want that. We want super sharp, crispy images that you're proud to display, get prints of, send to mags, get published. That's what we want. So above 1000 is absolutely crucial. How do you keep your shutter speed above 1000 when you've got limited light? That's when you start to push the ISO up to towards 16,000 and keep the aperture as open as you possibly can for your lens, whether that is 5.6 if you're on a longer lens, or whether that is 2.8 and you're in the water. So work out and have a little think, is it cloudy? Am I going to need max light? Or can I get away with shooting everything closed down a bit, stop down a bit, and still keep my shutter speed up to 1000? If it's really bright, don't be afraid to push your shutter speed up 2000, 4000. You will get some epic results, crispy waves, the spray just caught really nicely, and it'll be sick. So crack on, have a play, but make sure you keep it over 1000 if you want those crisp, sharp surf images. They are my quick tips for surf photography today. I hope you've enjoyed them. Please like, subscribe below, and any questions, give me a shout in the comments.